open against all odds, and everything that we've planned for this session is going to take place. Okay, so we are currently recording this session, and we'll let you know if we are going to make the recording available or not. At the moment, the recording is available for just the sake of administrative purposes. Okay, thank you. So yes, we've spent, we've gone beyond our start time already, so let's just hit the ground running. Once again, good evening, everyone. And before we begin, let me say something to you. I wanted to give you this caveat so that you understand that tonight's session is not about motivation. I'm not trying to come and give you some aspire to acquire or to end up anywhere in the choir. So what I'm trying to do to you is to help you build structure. It's to help you gain clarity. I'm not trying to motivate you. I'm not trying to hype you up. I'm not trying to tell you how amazing you are. Okay. If you are here because you're looking for excitement, you're looking for someone that would make you feel pumped up, let me say this now. You might be disappointed because that's not where you're here for. But if you came here for structure, you can stay, because tonight's about building the structure that would help you become an asset. I believe that there is a quiet crisis happening among young people. So one of the reasons why I put this together is because I think there's a quiet crisis happening among young people. And the quiet crisis is not really caused by them, but it is caused by how the system of education is designed in one way or the other. So I won't entirely blame you for that crisis. But at the same time, young people are faced and experiencing that crisis at a very large scale. And that crisis is not about unemployment. It is not intelligence. It is not even the lack of opportunity. It is the misalignment between what you have been taught in school and what the world needs from you. So on one hand is what you've learned in school. On the other hand is what the world, because there is a misalignment, there's always a confusion between or the little confusion experienced by undergraduate or recent graduates. Oh, I'm now done with university. So what's next? And that's because of that misalignment. So, and when you are in university, when you're in school, you are optimized to complete processes, to complete classes, to complete lecture. But what the world need is different. Our current school system is designed to optimize young people for completion. But the word itself doesn't reward completion. The word rewards contribution. And so on one end, you have completed secondary school. On the other end, the world is asking you, what can you contribute? What do you have to offer us? What can you do here? But sadly, many young people can't even answer that question, because all their 4 or 5 years in university, what they've done for themselves is to be optimized for completion. Okay, so and because of that optimization, we'll keep having that challenge by young people, experienced by young people. So when you are in school, the school rewards you for following instruction. Almost every university we have has this series of instructions. They have a guideline. So the school rewards you for following this instruction. You get rewarded for passing exams and tests. So you at the end of the day, CGPA, and you're very excited about your CGPA. You get rewarded for submitting assignments. You get rewarded for finishing the requirement needed for you to be a graduate. That is why when you finish university in Nigeria, you would see something about, they would say something about you are being awarded a certificate for character and for learning. So it means that that is what they want to assess you based on, for learning, not for being able to actually contribute to the larger world. Now, but the reward itself rewards you for something very different, which many graduates lack. The reward rewards you for owning outcomes. It rewards you for solving problems. It rewards you for delivering value, and it rewards you for being trusted. Those 4 things is what the reward rewards you for. But it's very unfortunate that many graduates don't have those 4 things. As a matter of fact, I've met graduates thousands of our graduates, hundreds of thousands of graduates, within this last 4 5 years. Even as a university student, I was interfacing with, I was working in an organization, and we had to at some point do talent profiling for graduates. And the truth is that many graduates don't have these four skills, of these four qualities that the world requires. So you can do everything right in school and still feel unprepared. You can show up in classes, you can write tests, you can have a 5.0 CGPA, you can have a first class or second class upper or third class, whatever you have, and still feel unprepared for the responsibility that is required of you after school. And when that shows up, it doesn't feel like you are misaligned, actually. It feels like confusion. That's why we have many graduates who are confused. It feels like anxiety because you are done with university, and after university, you don't know what to do next. So anxiety comes into place. And it also feels like, what's next? So if you I've worked with hundreds of graduates, and there's this question that always pop up whenever they are in the final year. You hear things like, okay, so what is after school? And every now and then you see campus organizations trying to organize programs, and they're asking the question of what next after school. Now, the problem with most of these programs they organize is the fact that when you attend those programs, they now feed you with the conventional knowledge again, nothing different exactly. So you still go to those sessions and you feel very, very confused. Now, let me say this. Before many of you joined this call, since you've been part of the community, many of you filled a short form. And if you haven't filled that form yet, please be responsible enough to fill that form after this session, okay? And at some point, my assistant will send you a link for you to fill an attendance. We want to be able to track how many people attended this program and see how we can cascade that attendance into something that is very impactful for all of us. Now, before this session, many of you filled out a short form. And what I did was I studied the responses carefully. So let me tell you what I saw. I saw that over 65% of you said you are not confused. And you are somewhat clear. Somehow you are clear, but still uncertain. And only a small percentage of you said you feel clear and confident. Now, this means something. It means something very important, that you are not lost, you're not unstable, and instability is not. And I've also realized over time that being unstable is not a knowledge problem. It is a structural gap. That is what I've learned from this analysis. It is a structural gap. So I also asked what it feels. I also asked in that survey or that form, what feels hardest right now? The most common answer we got is knowing what I should be able to build after school or build toward, or turning what I've learned into something useful. And some of you said your fear, your what you feel is the hardest right now is the fear of making the wrong move. And some of you said confidence in the real world setting, lack of guidance. See, notice something. What I've said so far. None of all these things you've experienced or you've highlighted as part of your fear or what's others for you are intelligence problems. In fact, many graduates are intelligent, but what we have here is a structural problem. So is that you lack structure. So then I also asked again, how useful do you feel in real world setting on a scale of 1 to 5? Now, the average answer I got from almost every one of you filled that form out of it's over 100 responses, by the way. The average response I got was 3. So on a scale of 1 to 5, you feel useful. You feel on a scale of 1 to 5, number 3 is how you feel useful. Not 1, not 5, 3. And it means that you don't feel useless, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, you don't feel indispensable. And I need you to feel so good at what you do. So you feel moderately useful. Okay, I think I'm useful to an extent. And that is not also incompetence, but it is under formation, meaning that you are still not formed properly. Now, then I also asked another question. And then I asked you what you are hoping that this session would help you understand better. The most common answer we got was how to become useful beyond certificates. not to get rich, not to blow. It's to get useful beyond certificates. So it means that many young people are somehow concerned about being useful beyond the certificate. But the problem is that they don't know how to get useful beyond certificates. And that is why I'm here. And so you're not asking for, right? You're not asking for, what you're asking for is structure. And what we are building tonight is structure. That is why I need you to pay. So let me ask you a question. What can you be trusted with without supervision? So if you're not supervising you, someone please mute your mic. If you're not supervising you, what can you be trusted with? Not what are you studying. In fact, most times I tend to ask young people who are going to university that what problems do you want to solve? Instead of asking what course do you want to study? Because if you understand the problem you want to solve, you can easily build your career progression around the problem you want to solve. And if you notice in the world today, those who solve problems are those who are valuable. They're those who are useful. That's why you see a lot of people going to university for 4 or 5 years, they study a course, and after they're done with university, they don't even use that course for one day. So not even what you're passionate about, not what you hope to become. It is, can you be trusted? What can you be trusted with without supervision? What can someone rely on you to handle without watching you? If we give you a task to do, can you be relied upon? Or do we have to sit down for hours watching you? Or do we have to micromanage you? Because having worked with many graduates, that is what I've observed. Many graduates can't be trusted with something. Now, I need to take a few seconds and think about that question. And if that question is uncomfortable to you, that's fine. It's fine. If you can't think about something you can be trusted with right now, it is fine. That discomfort is the data that I need. Because most people don't struggle because they lack potential. In fact, I have seen many young people with potential, but they still struggle after school. And it's crazy. They struggle because they were trained to complete the curriculum, to complete university, not to contribute to the world. So it is very possible that many of those from today will also fall in that category. In fact, they're already in the category because of how the system is designed. I was at the University of Lagos some weeks ago during their convocation ceremony. A friend of mine finished from University of Lagos undergraduate and finished the first class. So I need to attend the ceremony in the evening, or the celebration ceremony rather. And I saw thousands of graduates excited, wearing the graduation gown. Some wore the gown to the streets. So if you are going through in large area, the market, you see people with gown and all that. And I began to ask myself the question: how many of these graduates are actually assets? You see, majority of these graduates will now go back to fill of the pool of graduates who are certificated but cannot add value to the economy or society. So I'm using a simple phrase to describe this fit because if you feel discomfort, then you are ready to make a shift. And this shift is what I describe as the students to assets. When I was planning this year, I was thinking about what I can do for undergraduate. Because over the last 4 5 years, 5 years plus, I have worked with undergraduates across different universities and across West Africa as well, and maybe some other part of the world. And I realized that the challenges are similar. Many people graduate without being assets. So the question is, how can you become an asset? So I started asking myself, what can I design that can help an undergraduate become an asset after university? And what can I design that would transcend beyond time? Meaning that even if we have AI infiltration, we have technology infiltration. This principle can still help you become an asset anywhere. And this is a major question that employers are also asking that how can we have the right people join our organization? I have been privileged to sit with executive directors, owners of businesses, and the conversation is the same thing. One of the things they ask is, why are Gen Z causing problems in the workplace? Oh, of course, they bring a lot of energy and some excitement, right, and some creativity. But still, Gen Z is this generation that is born within the computer era, but don't know how to operate a computer properly. Isn't that crazy? You know how to use TikTok, your Snapchat, you know how to use everything. But if you give a proper Gen Z a computer to work with, they don't even understand how to use that computer to the best of their ability to solve problem. I once met a graduate of software engineering from a private university, and I saw her use a computer beside me, and I was disappointed because how am I teaching you some basic thing about computer when you studied software engineering? So what did you do in school for 5 years? 5 full years studying software engineering. So that is why I've designed the student to asset um, blueprint. Okay, the student to asset blueprint to help undergraduates and recent graduates become assets. So we have a role that is currently open at my place of work, and the sad part is that we can't advertise that role. The reason why we can't advertise that role is because it is difficult to describe what the role is, or it is not a role that not a role that you learn from the university. It's not a role that they taught you in classroom. If you don't have that list of competencies, then you don't have it. So we've been struggling to get someone to fill that role. Why? Because we have few assets who are graduates. So I'm introducing to you the students to assets operating system. This operating system will help you become an asset. And there are 4 layers that are that is involved or that is part of this operating system. The first layer, which is the core of everything, is the question of who I am. If you understand who you are, it shapes everything entirely about you. It helps you become an asset. You move like an asset. You get into a room and people know that there is something different about this person. We were once interviewing for a role, and there were, I think, about 2 or 3 candidates. A candidate came in, not even once, more than once. The first candidate came in, we spent time chatting with the person. Second candidate came in, we spent time chatting with the person. The third candidate came in, we could not ask a single question, because by the introduction alone, we just know that this person is not a good fit. So the person spent less than 5 minutes in the room, and I've seen this more than once. So the second the second aspect of this framework is outlook. Outlook, how you see the word. The next one is capability, and the last one is value. So you see these 4 elements of the student to asset framework. I am going to teach you tonight, so I need you to pay attention. Get your writing material and also write. Okay, write something down. So let's start with identity. If you're following me, please give me a thumbs up. If you're following me, give me a thumbs up. Good. Let's start with identity. Now, identity. Identity. Okay. Uh, or before then, let me do something. Okay, let me do something before then. I, I was just thinking in my head right now, what can I do to make it simplified for you guys about what an asset is? So an asset is not about money. It's not about someone who finished first class. An asset is a person who can be trusted. Write this down. For those of you that want to write this down. An asset is a person who can be trusted to create value wherever they find themselves. An asset is a person who can be trusted to create value wherever they find themselves. So one question you want to ask yourself, you can write it down, is ask yourself this question: am I an asset? And I need to be very, very sincere with yourself. Are you an asset? Becoming an asset is not about being impressive, it's about being reliable. It's about being this, and reliability is structural. And I've also told you that there are four layers that must exist for you to become an asset. So the first one now is identity. The first layer is identity. Identity is not what you say about yourself. Write it down. Identity is not what you say about yourself. Identity is a standard you refuse to violate. There's a standard you refuse to violate. There are several standards in my life that there are several things in my life as I hold as standard that they are not negotiable. Some of which, one of those standards is one, excellence. Excellence is a core standard for me. It is your responsibility posture, still on identity. It is what you protect under pressure. It is being trusted. Okay, I had every reason to cancel tonight's session, aside from having the internet issue. I had every single reason to cancel tonight's session. Okay, as I speak to you right now, I'm running very high temperature, right? Okay, but I have said to myself that, okay, this is manageable. We can fix this. We can do this tonight. And after now, I can go and rest, right? Okay. So it means that while I have the option to just send a message, say, oh, guys, you know what? We should do this tomorrow. I respect your time because for many of you, you fix this on your calendar. So in as much as I can still talk, then I have to show up. So it's a standard I've also learned to uphold. It is the internal decision rules that guide you when no one is supervising you. It is the internal decision rules that guide you when no one is supervising you. So if your identity is unclear, your behavior will be inconsistent. Some people cannot be left unsupervised. Some people cannot be left unsupervised. Okay, so just give me a second. All right. So, and becoming an asset means that if your behavior is, it means becoming an asset means that you know that if your behavior is inconsistent, you cannot be trusted. So, and if you want to become an asset, it begins with asking these questions: who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? Not what do I want? Not what title do I want? But what kind of person do I want to be trusted as? What kind of person do you want to be trusted as? Now, the second layer is outlook. Okay. Second layer is outlook. Okay, I've answered the question: standards, responsibility culture, and the decision rules. Now, the second layer is outlook. Outlook is how I see the world, how you see the world. See, if you have a wrong outlook towards the world, you would always you'd always be at a disadvantage because how you see the world matters. Students always wait for instruction. Students always wait for instruction before they do the next steps. But you see, assets, assets read systems. The systems is they understand incentives, they understand power, they understand friction, they understand leverage. See, you must understand. We have been so comfortable with the basic talk, basic conversation. Okay, I have always wanted or seek knowledge that is higher than what I always than what I know. That is why, even as an undergraduate, I had an edge over my peers, because I want to understand what is important. Is it power or money? Is it just being in university and waiting for one job to land on your lap? Or is it creating the systems that I need to create, having a path for myself? So you must understand leverage, because beyond being in school, you need to understand how power works. You need to understand leverage, how to leverage systems, how to leverage people, how to leverage processes. That's how to become an asset. If you don't understand the system you are in, including school, including university, or an organization or an industry, you will keep reacting instead of positioning. And that is what many undergraduates do today. They always react. You're not positioning for what's coming for you after school. And reacting is exhausting. Trust me. That's why when you're done with school, you are stressed. So outlook is the difference between tell me what to do and I understand what yeah. Okay. And let me say this something about the school system that many people don't understand. That the university or school is a place, is a system, it's a community. It can be a virtual system, it can be a physical system where you go into by the virtue of some credentials to acquire knowledge. Now, when you are in school, the school gives you access to some things. It gives you access to people, gives you access to community, gives you access to resources. Now, no one will teach you how to leverage the school system. You'd have to understand that leverage yourself. So I mentioned yesterday, the first day, that those who responded first to my message on the WhatsApp group will get a free gift from me. And I think I'm going to extend it to every one of you in this room today. Every one of you in this room, I would give you a copy of my ebook. So in my ebook, I describe clearly what a school system is meant for, how you can maximize your investment. So when I was in my final year, I wrote a book, and that book has gone on to over 2,000 students across the world. So outlook is like I said, outlook is the difference between tell me what to do and understand what matters here. There are many people that in a work environment, until you tell them what to do, they cannot function. So the next we have is capability. Up your writing. Capability. Capability is what I can reliably do, what you can reliably do. See, if you don't have those three things, if you don't have if you're not capable, if you are someone who cannot do things reliably, then you are going to suffer. Capability is not talent. Capability is not vibes. And it's not about you being hardworking. There are a lot of people that who are hardworking. I feel that see, if you think you are hardworking, there are people who are more hardworking than you. I was at a bus. Okay, I need to pick someone at the bus park one time like that at 2 a.m. in the morning. The person was coming from another state and got into Lagos by 2 a.m. So I need to pick the person at the bus park. I saw people, young people at 2 a.m. running after buses, carrying heavy loads for people. They are hardworking. Sometimes when I take a walk by 6 a.m. in the morning, I see people who already open their shop. They are hardworking, but they cannot function at certain levels because of what they are limited to do. So being capable is not being hardworking. See, some people think that the world should reward them for being hardworking. If that's how the world works, then those who are walking on the street should be greatly rewarded. Capability is what you can do repeatedly under pressure without supervision. It is knowing something once is not capability, explaining something once is not capability, doing something reliably is capability. And one thing I've observed over time is that reliability is rare, very, very rare. And that is why it is valuable. Those who are valuable, those who are reliable, rather, They are assets. They are always valid wherever they find themselves. Now, the fourth layer now is the layer of value. The layer of value. Values, what I create, others can use. What I create, please mute your mic, Juliana. So, what I create that others can use. See, one question you should ask yourself is, can you create something that others can use? Juliana, please mute your mic. Okay, thank you. Can you create something that others can use? It doesn't have to be a tangible product. It doesn't have to be something that people can hold in their hand. But can you create knowledge? Can you create systems? Can you create structures, ideas, processes? Can you solve problems others can use? Sometimes I see them and I look at what I've done, or when I see that one action I took some months ago is now making me huge impact. I look at it and I'm like, damn, value is sweet. So value is what you create that others can use. If you left your current environment tomorrow, what measurable value will disappear? See, when an asset leaves an environment, people in that environment know that an asset has left. If you are Gen Z, yeah, I think this is where they clock it. Okay, so please, you are free to clock things here. It's not okay. All right, so I know we have a lot of Gen Zs here, including my assistant. She's a Gen Z as well. Okay, so if something eats you, you can clock it, it's fine. I'm not killing anybody. So if you left the environment tomorrow, what measurable value will disappear? See, when they say people are replaceable, yes, people are replaceable, but at what cost? At what cost? Some people see. I have seen when senior executives make a decision about people. You hear people say, I was in a situation whereby someone wanted to say, some people want to resign or want to leave a particular organization, and I was with someone that is close to the like senior executive, and the person said, well, they can resign. I don't think I'll feel anything. Only a few people in this company, that would want to resign, and I'll call them back. That is crazy. That is how people make decisions about your life. I don't say this to myself. I'm replaceable. Before you replace me, it might take you getting about 3 to 4 people. You want to clock it there? Okay. It might take you getting 3 to 4 people to replace me. And even if you replace me for a long time, it will be felt that I have left the system. That is an asset. So what measurable value will disappear if you leave a system today? Not your presence, not your personality, value. Some people, the reason why they miss them is because they are funny. They are clowns. They're very, very funny, of course. They're very, very funny. So the reason why they miss them is maybe because they talk too much. But what value will disappear if you left your current environment tomorrow? Would something be improved because you were there? Or if you finish school today or wherever, even as in school, if you are in a community or in an organization, what will improve because you are there? When I was a student, I was the president of Achievers Consortium. I was a member of the American Society for Quality. I was a member of Alt Prize. I was the executive assistant to the CEO of Lightfield House. I was chief of operations at some point of Spartan House. I was I consulted for student leaders. I had my first TEDx event. Sorry, I was a TEDx speaker. I spoke at different universities as a student. No, so count it. And all those things, my grades never suffered for once. And all the communities I was part of, my value was felt. It could be that a problem was happening, and when I just showed up that day and I diffused the situation, it might mean that I joined the community and they're trying to solve something, not getting right, and I presented it in a different way. In the COVID-19, there was a call for volunteer for people who would like to become a volunteer. Sorry, not become a volunteer. My mentor then, Justin Abali, he posted something on the status. He said, "We want to do a free WhatsApp. We want to do a free WhatsApp school rather for secondary school students who are out of go out of school because of COVID-19. But schools were shut down. And I sent him a DM and said, "Sir, I can do this. Let me volunteer." Now, I use my knowledge of what I know to create a value, to design a system. And that system helped over 2,000 undergraduates, sorry, secondary students to get access to learning throughout the COVID-19. That is value. Because of my presence there, we created a system that went viral. Now, that system now became the foundation of what we call the Smart and House project. So that is value. And through that system, one of the jobs I do right now was because I met someone in that period, like the way I do things as an undergraduate, and now I'm working with him years later because of what I created some years ago. Value. So you don't have to wait till you're done with university before you have value. And that's the problem. Many people think you have to wait till you're done with school before you can create value. And it is a total no. You can create value from when you are an undergraduate. As a matter of fact, have you ever wondered why after school they say that they don't employ you are a recent graduate and they're asking for experience, years of experience, 3 years experience? Have you ever wondered why? You wonder why? Answer me in the chat room. So the reason why they ask for experience or they ask what you've done as a recent graduate is because they expect that while you were in school, you were making the most out of school. Like you were volunteering, you were interning, you joined communities, you organize your own programs. That is what people want to see after school. Not people know that after school you should not have 10 years of experience, but they want to see what you did with your time after school. So you have two people, one in first class, second one in second class upper, and two of them applying for a particular job, and the first class guy only focused on academics throughout their time, and the second person who's the 2-1 graduate had academics and volunteering experience, was at this event, was this, built this, created this stuff. Tell me who they were here. Because what employers want to see after graduate when you finish school is a proof of value. A proof of value. So if you have no proof of value, then why should they hire you? As a matter of fact, your first job after university is your employer is taking a chance on you. Your employer is taking a chance on you after university. But the question is, will you give them enough reason to hire you? See, I always believe something that there is room for more. If you have the value, they will hire you. So, will someone's life or work be easier because of your contribution? Would something continue working because you built it? If the answer is unclear, then that is not a character flaw, but it is structural gap which you lack. Now, the next slide. I have mentioned 4 things: value, capability, outlook, and identity. Now, these 4 layers are the core of being an asset. Okay, they are the core of being an asset. Who you are, identity, outlook, how you see the world, capability, what you can do, and value, what you can create that others can use. The world only pay for those that are valuable. So identity stabilizes behavior. Your outlook will guide your life choices, and value earns trust. And trust is the currency of growth. Trust, the currency of the 21st century. You see, anybody can learn a skill, but not everybody can be trustworthy. Anybody can learn a skill, but not everyone is trustworthy, because trustworthiness is not taught in university. It's not in your curriculum. You can't even learn as a tech skill. So now I need to pause, because this is where we now move from theory to confrontation. And I need you to answer these questions privately. Now, this particular session is you putting yourself under a microscope. It is you auditing yourself. So I need you to ask yourself those questions and respond sincerely. The first is this. Now, if you so get it, type the question in front of it, and if you have an answer, write it in front of it, and write your answer right in front of it. I'm not going to ask you back for your answer, but if you can tell me later on in the future, you can tell me. Now, the question is, what can you undo without supervision? What can you undo without supervision? What can you undo without supervision? Two, what skill are you deliberately compounding every single week? What skill are you deliberately compounding every single week? Hope you're writing that down. What skill are you deliberately compounding every single week? As a matter of fact, you don't go a single week without learning something. Don't do that. Don't go a single day without learning something. And it goes beyond your academics. You see, I think I thought about this. There are over 1,000 students like you in the same level in different universities and being taught almost the same thing. So the question is, what will differentiate you from them after school? What will differentiate you from them after school? Next is, what have you shipped in the last 90 days that someone else could use? It doesn't have to be an as. It doesn't have to be a tangible, a tangible product. It can be an idea. It can be knowledge. It can be insight. What have you shipped in the last 90 days that someone else could use? So write them down and answer the question. Next is, if you disappeared tomorrow, what value would be missing? Disappeared tomorrow, what value would be missing? By the way, feel free to screenshot the session, write about it on your status, your social media, pin down what you've learned. I think one of the things I usually do when I was in university is whenever I attend sessions like this, I write about them. People, when you attend sessions like this and you write about them, people see you as someone who is adding value to their life, right? And people are observing you, people are watching you, people are watching you. You know this for sure. So when opportunity comes, they'll be quick to recommend you. Now, I will ask yourself those questions. The first question I asked you is, what can you undo without supervision? The second is, what skills are you deliberately compounding every single week? The third, what have you shipped in the last 90 days that someone could use? Someone could use, an organization to use could use. And if you disappeared tomorrow, what would what value would be missing? I hope you've answered this question sincerely. So I'm going to say this. And I need you to listen to me carefully. See, whatever your answer is, know that it is not a confidence problem. It is a structural problem. And like I said earlier, that most people do not lack potential. Potential is one of the easiest to get. People are feeling the potential. As a matter of fact, when adults come and inspire you at your university or inspire your children, you say, oh, they are filled with potential. So potential is never lacking. So what many of you lack, or many people lack, is lack formation and clarity. I think now some of you must have gotten clarity right now, and clarity does not produce change. It is one thing for you to have clarity of what you want to do or what where you are currently, but that clarity does not produce change. Structure is what produces change. So, so what does deliberately developing yourself look like? See, my mentor said something to me when I was in university. So that evening, I think around time like this, around this kind of time, and I called him and I said, "Oh, okay." I was giving him all the update about university. One of the advantages of having a mentor then was having someone that I can easily give updates to. And if you don't have a mentor or a coach you can give updates to, or you can share your updates with, so okay, this is what I'm doing right now in school, this is my current state, what is going on. If you don't have that kind of mentor, yeah, well, it might your journey might be a bit slowed down. So having a mentor is very, very impactful, it's very, very good. So he said something to me that he said, Stephen, the school will give you a curriculum. The school has its own curriculum, but you must create your own curriculum. Creating your own curriculum means that creating my own path, creating my own journey, creating the things I want to learn. So, what does deliberate development look like? What is what would it look like to move intentionally from being a student to being an asset? And it begins with I identity design. Moving from student to asset begins with identity design. Now I'm linking that a bit. I know I mentioned identity before. Okay, that your identity is very, very important. So it's start with identity design. See, you don't stumble into identity. You don't stumble upon identity. You design it. So if you watch all those movies that there'll be a magician like Merlin and all those animes and the like, you see that before the maybe the actor, the main actor or the superhero or the main character unleashes his potential or his power, person would have to design the identity. They have to they would have to they don't just stumble upon it. Even when they found out that this is what they can do, they still have to train themselves. So you design your identity, you decide you decide what you can be trusted for. You ask yourself this question: what do I want to be trusted for? What standard will I protect even when it is inconvenient? What kind of person am I willing to become? That is the foundation. So you must you must be clear on what you want to be trusted for. You must be clear on what your standards are. You must be clear on who you are willing to become to get to where you are going to. See, sometimes I step into an identity because of where I'm going to. When I was a student, the identity I had was this: I see myself as a student leader who is responsible for the growth of many students. So, because of how I see myself or how I saw myself then, it shaped how I dress when I go to class. It shaped how I showed up when I go to class. It shaped the kind of conversation I engage in. You won't catch me discussing saying rubbish stuff. It shaped the places I go to. It shaped the events I attend. It shaped how I do the things I do as a student because of my identity. So I decided what I must become to get where I'm going to, and that identity is what is still serving me to today. It is very critical. So most time before I leave my room, then when I was in university, I stand in front of my mirror and tell myself, "You're a leader." So I wrote things about myself on my mirror. So as I look at my mirror, I am seeing those things looking at me as well. I said them to myself. I bounce like 3 times or so or thereabouts. I bounce and I leave the room. I leave with this confidence. So when you enter your room, people feel the presence. They feel this aura around you. Then the next one comes systems positioning. System positioning. Okay, understanding leverage. I mentioned this briefly earlier. How can you leverage systems? How can you leverage yourself? If you are still in university, you are sitting inside a leverage. You are sitting inside leverage. You see, when I was in university, my school had a population of 60,000 undergraduates. And that population is the size of some countries in the world, or some of the world's smallest country. 60,000 undergraduates. That is almost a whole state. So if you're in a community of 60,000 people, how do you want to create value for your presence to be felt? See, many people don't see their school that way. They don't see their university that way. So how can you leverage university? How can you leverage a polytechnic? Your courses are leveraged. Your lecturers are leveraged. Community, the communities, that is, if you are part of JCI, you're part of UCJ, you're part of Outprice, you are part of what they call those guys again? I don't remember that name anyway. Whatever community you're part of, they are leverage. The project you get involved in are leverage. Your proximity to a community of 6,000 people is a big leverage. Because if you create a product in that environment, you will create a product because you understand the environment. So it's a leverage. But most students float through university. You float through university instead of positioning inside it. And let me say this. If you are in a private university, you are in a federal university, I don't think it should be done with school and you're stranded. If you've graduated, you are still inside the system. Your immediate community is a system. If you're part of an organization currently, it's a system. Markets are systems. Every system has freedom. Every system has challenges. Every system has problem. And problems reveal opportunity. So you must be so attentive to the problems in the society or to the community, okay, so that you can create solutions for them. It is when you understand those systems, when you understand the world, when you understand your school, then you can now think about problems. So those that think about problem and now provide solutions to their assets. So there is something called there's a Chinese, there's a Japanese term also. Is it wow? Okay, wow, something like I can't remember right now. Okay, that one means problem. Okay, kiki and kikai. So kikai means problems or friction. It means chaos. And kikai means opportunities. So you must learn to turn your kiki into kikai. So you must be able to think beyond what job can I get to where is friction and what capability reduces it. Where is problem and what capability can solve that problem. So when I was in university, I decided earlier on the kind of problems I want to solve. So before I left university, in my final year, I got 2 job offers. And I had to pick one without applying for any of the roles. And the one I chose eventually was strongly aligned with the problems I want to solve. So it is when you understand systems and how to leverage it, you understand what you have to do. Now, let's mute your mic, Moses. Now, there comes the next one. Capability stacking. Capability stacking. So their primary capabilities, they are complementary capabilities, and they are capabilities that are like sit downs to you. So the question is, how capable are you? You see, many people think that you need to acquire many skills. Some people they are what I call skill prostitutes. So today they're learning UI UX. More than learning WordPress. more they're learning or something, more they're learning digital marketing. Like they don't sit down, learn and apply. They don't just learn everything. Okay, I'm not saying it's about to learn skills. We need to understand why you're learning those skills. And the reason why many people learn skills and get frustrated is that you learn skills, but there is no context for applying them. So ask yourself this question: this skill I'm about to learn, am I going to create a context for applying them? So if you are someone who's learning a skill right now and you don't know how to apply them, very, very simple. Use AI to create a problem and use your skill to solve that problem and package it as a portfolio. Very, very simple. Use AI, create a problem, tell the AI, you know, God, prompt engineering is very, 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 very key. Tell the AI to help you create a problem. You have XYZ skill, and it should create a problem for you, maybe as an employer, and you should be able to solve that problem as an employee, and use your own skill to solve that problem. And after solving that problem, put together, package it as part of a portfolio. So you do not need 20 skills. You need three that compound. You need three different skills that compound. You need a primary skill, you need a complementary skill, and you need one signal skill. That is your ability, and that signal skill is your ability to communicate and document your value. See, documenting value is so critical. See, many people say that, oh, I'm not a social media person. Oh, I don't like documenting my journey. I don't like documenting my value. See, it's going to affect you. You must know how to curate, document, and communicate your value. Since the university, I've always understood how to communicate my value. If you can't communicate your value, you will always suffer. You always get the end of the carrot. So communicating your value is very, very key. So even before knowing what my job was, when I was offered the job, I don't know the job description. I was able to negotiate what I wanted because I computed my value that see, this is what I can do, guys. If you're not hiring right now, you are still on a bicycle. So when you have depth compounds and random skills does not. Just randomizing skills without knowing how to apply them, they don't compound to value. And there's something called the contribution circle. See, this is where many undergraduates miss it. They don't know how to design or create a contribution circle. That is, what do you have and what can you contribute? Small project. Okay? Create your own small project with what you have. Join a volunteer community. Do something there. Let your presence be felt. Document your journey. Reflect. Improve. And repeat. You see, assets do not wait for permission to become useful. They create micro contributions across different space. Now, let's say you're an undergraduate. Let me give you a scenario. You volunteer for a community, and you're volunteering in that community is just as a graphic designer, or maybe even if it's the community manager. And that community now did something that solved some problems. See, you can put it in your CV that you were also part of the community and you guys solved the problem. This is contribution. It's a micro contribution. So you don't have to wait for the large thing. You don't have to wait till your university announce that it's time for IT. So people's only work experience is when the school called for IT or SciWest. Shouldn't be so. Create your own IT. So if your school don't do what IT and life, then what happened to you? So assets build relevance and they reduce collaboration over time, and they also become people others can rely on. So we are getting to the tail end of this session already. So I want to ask you a question. I want to say this rather. See, what we have done tonight is just architecture. It is the foundation of many things. And architecture is not formation. With what you've learned tonight, you can apply it and you're still good. Maybe to a large extent. Like I said, I said earlier, that what many of you lack is structure. You lack a system that will put into structure. In fact, because of your lack of structure, many of you don't know how to thrive in a work environment after university. Structure. So, but when I was in the university, there is the committee I joined called American Society for Quality had a mad ass structure. We had mentors, we call them mentors. They are no nonsense people. If you tell them that you're going to submit something by 10 o'clock, it better be 10 o'clock. It should not be 10:01. It has to be 10 o'clock. If you tell them that, um, if you tell them that if you're not going to show up something, tell them you're not going to show up. If they tell you to show up at the meeting, you better go prepared. If they has to present, you better present well. If they has to tell you, if they has to give an account of what you've done in your own unit, you better go there prepared. So it taught us structure. And I have clarified tonight the operating system you need. But formation requires repetition. It requires structure, it requires accountability, it requires real project, real feedback, real documentation. And becoming an asset is not just getting an insight, it's about getting discipline. It's about a discipline or being disciplined. And discipline grows in structured environment, not in isolation, not you being on your own. Because already some of you, most young people are suffering from attention deficit. So if you are serious about becoming this kind of person, it requires more than just this session. It requires deliberate formation. So that means that you must be able to what? You must be able to get clarity, or you must be able to get what identity means in more details. It means there is so much more you need to learn. Okay, it means that you need what to get more clarification on identity formation, system mapping, capability design, contribution project, feedback and review, and documentation. You see what I've put together, these 6 systems or this 6 structure. Over the last 3 years or 2 years, every now and then I create a cohort of undergraduates who I'm going to mentor for 3 months. Okay, and even at that time, there wasn't this kind of structure put together. So every week we'd meet like twice a week. I'll teach them, I'll give them projects to do, they'll get back to me, and some of them that were struggling academically because of what we discussed and how they put it into practice, they were able to revive themselves. I've seen people go from third class to second class. I've seen people go from second class to first class, right? Because they applied what is being taught. So, so again, this year I'm introducing a structured mentorship program for undergraduates. And like how I do it every year, I just select 20 students, 20 per cohort. I will teach them for 2 months, sometimes 3 months. By the time they are done, they become useful. And that was before we even designed this blueprint. Because you need to be able to map the systems you are inside. If you're an undergraduate, you need someone to guide you to map the systems you are inside. You need someone to help you design your capability stack intentionally. You need help designing how you can build real contribution projects and how you can document evidence of value. Because see, documenting evidence of value is very, very critical. And one of the ways of documenting evidence of value is through your social media. And that's how I go. By the way, that's how I got my first job, through social media. Someone saw my profile online, and cool, that's how I got employed. You need to also receive feedback throughout this process. Okay, then adjust, then repeat. Okay, after you go through this process, you need to adjust some things, then repeat again. And it is not for people looking for shortcuts. Now, this program or this mentorship program is not for people, not for everybody. Not for people looking for shortcuts. It's not for people who just want information. It's for people who are ready to move from thinking about become valuable to deliberately becoming valuable, to become assets. It's just for 20 students. Of course, there's going to be financial commitment required because it's time taking is very expensive to run. Okay, even this particular free program is also very expensive. This free program we just had tonight is expensive to run, right? Expensive on my time, expensive on resources as well. And so not so it's going to be application based, and of course, it's going to be paid for as well. And we are just going to take 20 people. So the 20 of you who would show interest in doing that, you can reach out for to my assistant um, to show that your interest. I said it's going to be paid for, okay, and it's not too expensive, by the way. It's less than 30K, less than 30K, okay, and it's going to run for 2 months, and you're going to be mentored through the process. And once you come into that community, you're going to have a lifetime at what you're doing in university. See, you're doing university. So now, away from that, I'm going to end with this. Becoming an asset is not about being impressive. It's not just about being impressive, it's about being trusted. And contrary to what many of you think that school is scam, school is not a scam. It is how you've interacted with school that makes it look like a scam because they didn't really promise you, they didn't overpromise anything to you. In fact, whatever of in university, the school didn't beg you to choose them. You wrote jam, you wrote WIEC, you wrote screen, all these other sort of things to get into the university. So school is not a scam. Education is not wrong, but it is incomplete without contribution. And the real question I want is not about asking, oh, what next after school? The real question is asking, who am I becoming? So I need you to think about this as you go back tonight. Ask yourself this question: who am I becoming? Thank you. So I've come to the end of my own session. I'm going to leave the room for questions. If you want to ask questions, you can indicate your hands up and ask questions. And if you also have interest in joining the mentorship program for 2 months, uh, okay, I think just about 30, just 30,000 naira only, just 30K only, 30K only. Okay, for that 2 months, we'll teach you, you would mentor you, guide you back to back. Can speak to a Daisy for that. So I'm going to take questions right now. And question and feedback. Let me know how you felt tonight. Did you feel, was any table, did I shake any table? Did I destroy any table? Were there clock it moment? So this is the time I'm going to take uh comment as well. And I'm also going to be giving a copy of my book to every one of you here. So at least try to screenshot. I don't know if you didn't save your name on this. If your name here is not showing as a real name, try to edit the name if possible. Daisy, please take a screenshot of this and let us know those who are attendants. Thank you. Then we'll send the attendance link to them as well in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so this time I'm going to take feedback, questions. Tell me how you feel tonight. Do you feel like you checked out something? Do you think you are ready to go? So I'm here to raise your hand if you want to say something and share your feedback. Thank you. So who want to go first? Okay, Babatunde Kayode. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Stephen. Indeed, you are an asset, a very great asset. And I think the session is not just mind blowing, but it's a reformation. It's one that helps to re-engineer one's mind. I think a lot is going on right now in the minds of everyone here present, if I'm speaking their minds. And I think this is one session also that shouldn't be limited to undergraduates. I think it's one session that should also be held, for students in SS3, those that are about to venture into secondary school, because he said something so profound almost at the beginning. And he said the question even shouldn't be what do you want to study? The question should be what problem are you intending to solve? So I think if we get to that point where students will be taking up degrees, of course, there's going to be a lot also now, students trying to seek for UTM and all that. A lot of them are clueless. I think we can also take it to that point. But I would like to say for every undergraduate here, this is this is a serious re-engineering. And I think everyone will need to go and sit down and see how to get themselves transformed into ourselves before they step out of that school. And even for those that really get done already, they are still here. I think you still need to, go back and sit down know, to re-strategize. You talked about outlook, you talked about identifying oneself. And I think these are very foundational. And if you can actually look at each of these structures, look at each of these layers, I think we can begin to solve real problems. We can begin to be a great addition to organizations, even set up something for ourselves and get ourselves fully equipped before we go out there into the world. And I would just want to say thank you so much for putting this together once more. And I want to encourage for as many as possible that would want to take it up from here. I think the mentorship session is something we do not want to toy with. It's something we do not want to, push aside. It's something we want to get engaged with. I just want to encourage everyone to join us, join me, and let's be part of this and let's change the world one step at a time. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Babatunde Kayode. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for that words, kind words as well. It showed that you really paid attention as well. So we're gonna go next. I need you all to talk. On mute mic. I have taught you something tonight, and this is high time you start practicalizing. Show up. Uh, put yourself out there. What's the worst that's gonna happen? What's the worst that's gonna happen? Okay, so let's go ahead. So who else is raising their hand? Nobody. Okay, Evelyn. Okay, Evelyn, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Um, my name is Edwin from the University of Ilorin, 100 level, especially technology. And I just want to say thank you for hosting and for having us in this session. It's, it's really a great joy, and thank you for not following my hand because I actually told my friends I attended the boot camp we did, I think 2, 3 years ago for freshers. Yes, and I applied everything that was taught uh, and everything every guest speaker spoke on, and really it really helped my CGPA and in fact my life on campus. So I really cannot wait to start applying what I've learned again tonight. And I want to say thank you and thank you to your team for building this and bringing this up for us. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Evelyn, for that. See, there's one thing Evelyn said. Evelyn said, "Thank you for not following my hand." So it means that she has been part of my programs before, and if you know me, and you're close to me, I don't go back. Right? I do something, I get, you come back the next day, I'm better. Okay, if you can attest to that. I do something today, you come back the next day, it's as fresh as always, and I thank God for that. And like she said, what she learned during that fresher boot camp has really helped her, and she's thriving. And with this, she'll also do more. So let us hear from Damilola.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for this session. Like the previous person that just spoke now, I mean, I could not. This was boring. This was what I was expecting, and I even got more. And I really wish that I could be writing everything that you said line by line. But I really just want to say thank you for this session. And I think that one of the things that actually stood out for me and I could feel a gap in where I'm lagging behind is when you mentioned about the fact that it's just beyond trying to gather knowledge. Yes, being valuable is beyond trying to, okay, you're gathering these skills, you are compounding this and all of that. But then the one of the major issues that I have, because I don't want to generalize this for everybody, is that knowing that beyond the knowledge that you have, there's also a way that you need to like create structures, because what would help you to be stable, what would help you to be stabilized with what you know, who you are becoming is actually that structure. And I look forward to the mentorship. Really, really, I really look forward to it. And I mean, immediately you said that, it was just like a light bulb moment for me. I'm like, this is what I'm looking for. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very, very much. If you so let me say this, right? So this is a free session, right? So imagine what we have um in a structured mentorship program that's going to happen for 8 weeks. Just imagine for a moment that if this is free, what would happen for 8 weeks? Your life will literally transform forever. And I'm not saying this. I, I can't. Well, I want to say just some things. Just say it calmly, right? I'll just say it. The things I've done out of doing it when I was in university and after school, sometimes I look at myself and say that it's mind blowing. And the things I do currently and I combine currently, they are really high impact. And most of those things I'm doing currently, I learned them, I built the structure for it in university. So let me, before I take the next two people, during my first interview, after I do what happened, let me say how it happened. So somebody saw my profile on Instagram, not even LinkedIn, Instagram. The person reached out to me. I said, "Oh, guy, you wrote future minister of education on your profile. Talk to me. What's it about? What do you do?" I said, "I'm a student. I'm a final year. Have 2 months to be done with university." I said, "Oh, interesting. Send me your profile." So I gave him a document. I'm always ready, like my portfolio. Sent it to him. I said, "Oh, let's get on the call soon." Send me some document to review. Long story short, by the time we met for the first time, we met January 3rd, 2023. We had this interview, the panel interview, with a number of people in that room, and we were talking. So the conversation was largely around what I did when I was in school. It was around what I contributed in. And they're asking me questions, okay, oh, you said you do this you did this as a student. So how can you translate that to this place? You did this as a student. How can you? So it was largely about that. So you can imagine what I want to do with undergraduate and recent graduates. Because as a recent graduate, I know what organizations need to make an asset. Okay, so you need to build that. And I also learned something over time is this whole asset thing is not about you working in a corporate environment or you starting a business. Most Nigerians start a business for survival, not for solving a problem. Okay, it's for survival. Start a business, they're selling something, they're doing it. It's for survival, not because they're actually solving a problem. So if you want to even go into entrepreneurship after school, you want to be an asset. Asset. You want to be an entrepreneur who's an asset. So I recently um I'm at the management level for one of the jobs I do, right? And recently, some Gen Zs were recently employed, tech guys, very smart and impressive on paper, but they lack a number of things that would make them assets. So one of them made a very fatal mistake that I had to take the fall for. By the time I corrected it, it was shocked. It was literally begging to say that, please, sir, just mentor me, because I know that if the board members heard what he did, would literally fire him. So at least it wasn't intentional because it wasn't taught. Okay, so that is why we're putting this together for young people so that we can have more assets going to industries, going to organizations, even as entrepreneurs, and actually make real change. Let's hear from Josephine. Josephine, hi. Please mute your mic and speak up.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Steven. And thank you very much for this session today. I have a question though. My question is for students who are like trying to build a portfolio, like you said, building your portfolio, volunteering at events and doing some other things. How would you advise them to like do these things without them academically suffering? Because I feel like some of me myself, I struggle with time management. So trying to do this and then schoolwork, I don't know, it's kind of hard. So how would you advise someone to manage their time properly or to just be able to do this thing and not suffer academically? That's my question.
All right, thank you for that question. I think in my years of mentoring undergraduate, that's one of the questions, one of the most common questions they ask, how do I manage? How do I manage my time? And I say that the reason why many people do not manage their time is because they only understand time management, but they don't also understand energy management. Okay, energy management is knowing when your peak, when you're at your peak, when you are less to be at your peak, the kind of activities to do when you're at your peak and all that, right? And see, there's a quadrant I introduced when I was in school. I put academics, I put other things. So I create this table. In that table, like I write all my areas of function, right? And I don't I look at those things and I write out the things I need to do under those phases, right? So first, it's not every day I need to do something. I need to read rigorously from academics. It's not every day. So that was for me. It wasn't every day. So for me, some day you just don't read at all. Sometimes just 30 minutes. Then so in that whole table I created okay, Wednesday afternoon from this time to this time, do what I have to be doing. So when I'm going to school in the morning, I have I have already a clear picture of what how I want my day to go. Right? Doesn't mean that it's perfect, it's always perfect. No. Doesn't mean that I was perfect. No. But having that clear picture every morning, say that okay, in for academics, I need to do this, I have this assignment. For my work, I need to write this, send this email to this person. For volunteering, I need to do this. So I write what to do in those different areas on daily basis. So on my way to class, while I'm commuting, I'm doing some work on my phone. On my way back, I'm doing some work on my phone. When I have short break and I'm gisting, I'll do something on my phone. So that way, it keeps me in check. So by the time I get home every day, I look at what have I not done for that day. Write it down in my notepad. I have a notepad for doing that. And if I'm unable to achieve it that day, I move it to the next day. The next day, I wake up very in the morning as early as 7 sometimes, and I work from 7 to like 9. So days I don't have classes, I work from 7 to 9 because I was working remotely as an executive assistant. So I work from that time to that time. Within that time, even if I'm just doing 20-minute job for my boss, the other time to 9 o'clock, I used to do other personal stuff. So that is how I get to manage my time. So from 10 or from 9, I start preparing for class. And before you know it, by 10:30, I'm already in class. So I do that to help manage my time. There's some days where I fall below expectation. There's some days where it just helps me in a very interesting way because I'm able to map my day. So do a daily mapping of what you want to do. Know when you are most energetic. Sometimes in the morning I do a lot of brain task, right? Then evening do some less stressful work. So that's how I am wired. And some evenings as well. I know that I can work all through the night. So sometimes I work from like 8 p.m. to like midnight or thereabouts. And also, another thing I did was when people are going for night class in school and I go for night class, it's not every time I go for night class I'll study. Sometimes I go for night class because I want to work. So if you think that this guy is in night class and he's reading, or oh no, I am working, I'm designing something, I'm creating something. So I use that time to also manage my time and now focus on academics. Then another thing I also do is I try to read. I try to listen attentively in class. Now listening attentively in class helps you understand to a large extent what your lecturer is teaching. And after you're done listening, when I get to I try to do sometimes I just maybe when we are having towards the mid semester, I just pick my courses and read them. Okay, there's some seasons where for the whole week I'm not really doing anything like volunteering. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just studying my book. So I just create all those balances for myself and also trade-offs as well. Sometimes I trade things off. Okay, if I'm doing this now, what am I trading off? So if you can understand all that, it can help you manage your time effectively. All right, thank you. So one more person that will call it a night. One more person. And Josephine, I hope I answered your question to an extent. All right. Anuluapo. And after Anuluapo, they will take Elisha and we'll call it a night. Anu, let's go.
Good evening, sir. I am Anora from Federal University. Thank you so much for tonight's session. It was eye-opening. And this part for me was the good part, making an impact in where you are. And I have a question on that area, sir. You said that we should create something someone can use, right? And
Yes.
probably I'm in two positions in school. And I noticed that I'm making an impact here in one. Would you advise I leave the one I'm not making an impact in, or I should like work on it and build on it? I
All
don't know
right.
if you
So this
understand.
Yeah, I understand your question. You're in two different organizations and you think you're making an impact in one and you're not. So I have been in that dilemma several times, especially when towards second semester rather, where most campus organizations are always very busy with activities. So what I did at that time is I dedicate one day of the week, sometimes like the major day of the week, to do major tasks for one organization, and I also dedicate another major day of the week for the other organization. Now, there was a time I was in two different organizations or three. I had to now evaluate, okay, this particular place, am I actually being impactful? Or if I leave this one with, if I let this go, would it affect anything? No. So since I had done that evaluation, I had to communicate to the president that, please, I think I would like to exit. Now, so so eventually, instead of communicating about exiting, I said I want a break, because for me as a person, I have built a reputation for doing good work. So at that point, I felt, oh, if I back away now, look as if I don't know what I'm doing. That's just my own personal, that's just me. But for you, you might just evaluate both organizations and say, okay, which one can I actually put all my energy in? Not, I used to recognize not everyone's like me. Not everyone can juggle multiple organizations like me or do multiple things like me. So I would say that pick the one you think you are most active in, and and um give your energy to it. Okay. And the other one, sit down and ask yourself, is there something I can still do about it? If there is nothing you can do about it, they can leave. Leave honorably. Okay. All right. Hope I answered that question. Last one from Elisha, so that we can go. Elisha.
Right. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Stephen. Thank you for the wonderful session. It was really an impactful and thought-provoking. Please, I confirm you can hear me.
I can hear you, please. I can hear you.
Oh, all right. Thank you. So yeah, the session was really thought-provoking. Right. So I have questions. Right. So my question is, so for let's say a student who is I would say that there's some kind of career paths that are more structured, or will I say structured, or more okay, from this level, you just go to this level, go to this level, and the expectations are not so, and even the something doesn't give you so much chance or so much time to really build outside of that particular career path. More like say professional courses. I think I would include law. So I'm also a law student, a career law student. Right? And so it's more like for building relevance or building impact outside the particular course study, um, which you would not even have so much opportunity to relate in real life, which you actually get to, which you actually graduate and probably get into STEM and do internship and do an internship, all of that, right? So for that kind of career path or progression now, what would you think would um about systems positioning, right? Thinking about how to leverage the systems and the people. Meanwhile, those people are actually outside. The system it's not in the present, it's not your present system or present environment that is skills or that the knowledge you actually thought is relevant. Sort of. I don't know if
Okay.
you get
Yeah, I get your
the next.
question. So I get your question for because of time. Right. So I would say that for law, I have a friends that study law and they are really exceptional. You might want to check out this guy online. Check out Gidado Abdul Razak Gidado, right? Ambassador Abdul Razak Gidado, one of my guys, right? He studied law at the University of Ilorin. So when he was in school, one of the things he did was to help organizations that are maybe NGOs that are trying to start up, do something. He just consult for them, right? So it helped his portfolio of those kind of organizations. Then something else he also did was he likes research. Then he also registered for all those international peacekeeping this, peacekeeping that, and all that. Then he was also involved in school politics a bit, advising school politicians, right? And he also built a personal brand in himself. He was so connected, right? So I would say that for law, some of the things you need to do there majorly look you kind of volunteer within your school community itself, your moot court and all those things, your departmental law society, relevant there, write articles. That way to be relevant as well. write article that can be shared within this law society, within your system and outside of the system. Connect to people that are in that space already. Reach out to them. Ask them questions. Sometimes volunteer to do something for them. Yeah, can also volunteer to do something for them. Sometimes go for all those law events. Try to go for law events as well. Then look for international organizations and volunteer for them, and also consult as well. So that will help you in that kind of your career progression. Okay. So I'm rushing. I need to leave soon. So do you got that? Lasha, does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining tonight's session. And don't forget that the mentorship session is just for 20 students, and you can reach out to me or my assistant to pick your slot and also make your subscription as well. And trust me, it's not, I can make it free, and I'm not trying to, I just believe that when you commit something to it, when you commit yourself to something, commit your resources to something, you show up and you do what you have to do. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining tonight. Please don't forget to share your feedback to me directly. We will send you a Google form for your attendance and feedback form as well. You can talk about this online, social media, anyway, and you can also tag me as well. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.